Shortly, Thomas the Tank Engine will chug his way into the studio for a performance, but after the break, 1 in 3 couples in the next decade could face infertility. Meet a man who's helped thousands overcome this problem next. Well, infertility affects 1 in 6 Australian couples. It's expected to double in the next decade. This morning I'm joined by naturopath Jason Jackson, who's going to give us some of the secrets to conceiving naturally. Jason, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kerrianne. It's a pleasure.
I'm a bit staggered that the 1 in 6 couples are infertile. Do we know why?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, and like I was saying, that the trends are actually going to decline even worse. They're saying within the next 10 years or so, we're going to be probably down to 1 in 3 couples. They're saying worldwide, actually, male sperm quality will probably decline to a stage where it may not be able to fertilise an egg anymore. So we're in big, big trouble.
So why is that? I was also looking at the statistics you supplied. Apparently, World War II young adult males were way more potent. Their sperm was way more potent than current young adult
And that's
males.
right. And I think a lot of that, I think they're saying that the men, say a young male that fought in World War II, say in his late teens, for example, compared to a young male today, the sperm quality on average is about 1/3.
Why?
So the big areas, you have to think, since that time, since post-war time, there's been huge booms in industry. And from that time to now, there's about 70,000 new biochemical agents used in the worldwide market nowadays that wasn't around back then. So the collective pooling effect, you think of all these chemicals that are happening on our immune system, on the endocrine system, is having a huge disruptive effect on men's testosterone production, for example. And as a consequence, we are seeing this huge decline. Probably since the 1970s and onwards, that's where we've been seeing the greatest drop-off.
Wow, so chemical factors, environmental factors?
I mean, the quality of food, everyone seems to know that the food's probably not up to scratch like it used to be back in Grandma's day. So that's got to be a big area. So if couples can try and focus on, you know, getting more...
So infertility is not a female issue, as it always used to be.
No, that's right.
It is a male sperm and egg.
Exactly.
And is it equal out there in terms of infertility?
Pretty much equal. I think the guys are definitely catching up at a huge rate, and probably in my observations through my clinic, I've noticed probably in the last 3+ years, men really seem to be coming in as being the factor. I don't know if that's because males are probably a bit more metrosexual now and they want to go out and get tested, probably more so than previous generations. I think diagnostics are improving a lot more.
What factor does stress play?
Stress is you know, really the root of all evil when you think about how it impacts all different areas. One of the big areas that stress affects on, we've got 2 major glands, the hypothalamus in the brain and our adrenal glands. And these are really important in how our body adapts to stress. So basically, stress comes in all different ways. Emotional stress, physiological stress, and the hypothalamus is like the master control gland. It's like mission control. It coordinates all the different chemical reactions that are happening in the body, and it's like a domino effect. It'll affect the pituitary gland. It produces 2 hormones called LH and FSH for both men and women, and that is what drives the sex hormone production. So if stress is disrupting it at either one of these levels, we're in trouble. Okay,
this morning we want to look at some of the... I mean, there is the natural way, and I think we all know what that is.
Yes. You don't want me to expand,
number one, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of fertility specialists over the years, and sometimes they really reinforce how important having that act is, and love making. But past that, and I know it sounds so simple, but a lot of people underestimate the regularity at which you've got to do that. Now let's work to the foods, the natural foods. Now, I love the fact you've got chocolate at the front. What is chocolate going to do?
It's everyone's favourite. Chocolate is very high in, there's a dimethylglycine. It's very, very good.
Does it just make you feel good that you want to actually get on with it?
That's what it does do. It increases the endorphins in the brain to make you feel good. But yes, that's a big part from that. Well, the high in the cocoa, you've got to get the high quality, particularly in the dark chocolate variety.
Girls, don't go for the cheap chocolate. Just go for the big chocolate.
It's ironic when you say a lot of girls say leading up to premenstrual time, and a lot of girls tend to get the cravings towards the chocolate, and there's a lot of biochemical reasons because it makes you feel good.
Okay,
and it really does.
We want to make sure we get through all these foods girls should be eating. The sesame seeds.
Sesame seeds are very good for both sexes. It is probably considered the most nutrient-containing seed. It is very dense in zinc,
and
for
should
example.
Men and women both be consuming that?
Men and women should consume that.
Okay, if you had a couple in for a fertility program, well, how much of that on a daily level should the guy and girl be
usually probably, if you were consuming it in your diet, a lot of people sort of probably sprinkle it on their cereals and things like that, a little bit like the next one here, which is LSA powder. LSA is actually a combination, so about a teaspoon would be probably a good starting point. LSA here is a combination of linseed, sunflowers and almond nuts. Almonds is considered probably the most nutrient-containing nut, and it's very high, and again, in zinc and arginine. Arginine is an amino acid, again, good for both boys and girls. For men, it's...
So every day, girls and guys consuming all those nuts and those varieties there. Garlic?
Yeah, garlic has a lot of factors too. Again, depending on where garlic's grown, it can be very high in selenium. Selenium is essential for the endocrine system to work. They're finding selenium is very important for preventing the chromosome deterioration in men as well. So it's one of the most important antioxidant nutrients.
And
very
mussels?
high in sulfur too. Well, mussels again is a cousin to the oyster family. I mean, we know about Casanova. You had a great time.
But I
with
noticed
those.
zinc constantly coming up.
Zinc's
in
the king. Personally, in my opinion, zinc is. I mean, most people know folic acid when ladies are prepping to fall pregnant, but zinc probably has more biochemical functions. And here in Australia, we actually are considered one of the most deficient continents in the world with zinc in the soil, which is probably a large problem.
And asparagus?
Well, asparagus, well, everyone knows the good old asparagus. It's a good old phallic symbol, isn't it? Doesn't it? A bit smaller. But asparagus is very dense also in a lot of nutrients. One of the most important foods that you should always consider is getting into your dark green leafy veggies. Everyone should increase their dark leafies in their
so
diet.
there is a lot of sensible and scientific theory behind this before people have to actually try some of the more difficult areas, and not only expensive but emotionally traumatic.
Right. Start basic and build up.
Jason, thank you very much for your time this morning.
No troubles at all, Kerrianne. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up on Mornings, a performance from Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends, but until then, water restrictions or not, you still need a quality hose fitting, just like a hose link.